Does it look like I know what a JPEG is? That's what's stuck in my head. All I want is a gosh dang hot dog.
Hit it.
They're here.
Don't cross the streams.
Bueller.
I'll have what she's having.
Great Scott!
Why did it have to be snakes?
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Bueller.
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
I'll be back.
I am your father.
Bueller.
I feel the need for speed.
It's showtime.
Hello, welcome back to Silver Screen Sisters.
Yeah, where we are going to talk about 80s movies.
That we really don't know anything about. So,
Exactly.
So last episode we ended with drawing the movie of the week.
And in case you don't remember, it's Little Shop of Horrors.
Little Shop. It was on my list of things to just kind of like...
That's right.
I had seen the movie before, and it's a favorite of my husband's, but oh my god, that's an extra.
And I've never seen it before, so I have some things that I will say about it. Things that I can remember, because, we might have had an edible or two, but besides the point, it was a very interesting, fun, different
Oh my
movie.
god. So...
Fun?
Yeah.
You pick the word, it's fine.
It was an adventure.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it a little bit. We'll give a brief rundown on it, and then we will rate the movie. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can't wait to hear what you have to say, Billie, on your rating.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, do you want to jump on into it?
Yes, but real quick, I don't know why, but first I thought the main character's name was Raymond. So that's what my notes say a lot.
So you're talking about Seymour, right? Seymour Krelburn.
Is the main character. Mm-hmm. And also, I didn't realize this was like a play in the 60s.
Yes, it was a play first.
In the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
That was the whole thing, the 60s. Which makes sense, because there was the three girls that were like the Supremes or something.
Yeah, they were, they reminded
60s
me...
60s vibes.
Yes, they reminded me of the three girls in Hercules, the cartoon.
Oh,
yeah.
And that's funny, because it's like based on Greek mythology, which I didn't know until after.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Oh, well, if you
Did you do some research?
Yeah, no, I Googled.
Oh, god damn it. Now Sophie's making me look bad.
Does it look like I know what a JPEG is?
You know what? We should be looking at the history of these movies and where they come from and all of makes sense.
It was just on the Google page that it was about Greek mythology, about I don't even remember what it says, but basically what he does, what goes around comes around, in a sense.
Oh, I see.
So nobody wins, but in the movie...
Seymour wins
at the end. So
yeah.
I don't
Spoilers.
know how the play ends.
I don't either. I should look that up, probably.
Hold, please. Maybe we'll look that up.
So number one, when the first movie was released, it was eventually re-released later with an alternate ending or extended ending, extended edition. We did not watch that one. We watched the original release. FYI, to anybody who's confused.
Go on.
So, in the 1960s, the original film, 1960s film, Seymour is devoured after the other victims are revealed to pop out as Audrey Jr.'s flower blooms, with him crying that he didn't mean it. That's dark.
I don't know why I'm laughing. It's very
It looks like it's available on YouTube, too. So if you guys want to go check that out, we'll put it on the website.
Let us know your favorite ending.
Yes. And then the stage ending was Audrey and Seymour are both eaten, and the song Don't Feed the Plants warns the audience not to be tempted by the plants lest the same things happen to them. Most versions of the stage ending also include the deceased characters coming back from the dead in the form of Audrey II's blossoms to sing along and warn the audience. Well, that's fucking creepy. Now all those singing flowers at the end make me really creeped out.
Because you weren't thinking of what produced those flowers.
Nope.
Well, now with the history, it's a little more morbid.
Mm-hmm. So there was the original ending in 1986. where it stayed very close to the original musical, it stayed close to the original movie and the stage musical.
Okay.
And that one had Audrey to eat both Audrey and Seymour, and then proceeded to take over the world. But when they tested it with test audiences, they really did not like that ending. So they redid the ending, which is the actual theatrical release, which is the one that we watched.
Okay.
So this is the one where Audrey and Seymour defeat Audrey 2, kill it, he explodes, and then they go live their happily ever after in suburbia, and you see a little baby Audrey 2 in their garden at the end.
That's right.
That's the history. So now we're going to have to make that a thing. Now,
well, let's fast forward to the plant shop.
yeah. But my favorite thing about that whole opening sequence was just the synthesized organ that they started playing right at the beginning. And I was like, oh, God, here we go. 80s synthesizers were in. So that's all.
Here we start with the music.
Yeah, of course. I'm just gonna start with music. You know.
I did like the 3 singers. They were cute. Like the Supremes. That's what is that right? Dream Girls, right?
Yeah, something like that. The Hercules ladies. And then, like, when they're walking through the rain and stuff, and the rain's just not hitting them at all.
Because they're gods.
Because we
found out this is Greek mythology. That's why they show up everywhere in their cute little dresses, not aging. So, yeah. Okay, real quick, I have to ask.
Yeah.
Because you remember the music, but I don't remember really much of what they sang about. Like, they sang and stuff, but it's hard to remember the tune now, and it's only been a day. I don't know if that's the edibles.
It could have been the edibles.
But
it's also one of the, it's not a very catchy, easily remembered musical unless you've watched it a few times. Like, there are some songs that you walk out of there singing, like,
Feed me Seymour, feed me all night long.
It gets catchy eventually, but yeah.
What?
After the singing sequence or whatever, we meet Audrey, and oh my God, character. So she's so thin, but like then she starts singing, and oh my God, had that really soft and really tender voice, and then he adds a lisp on it, and then Seymour, like it's just a really great.
You shockingly did that really well.
Well, thanks. So she did a really awesome Audrey, but then suddenly she comes out of there and goes, it came out of nowhere, and I was like, I'm here for it, lady. Preach. Take me to church. And then Seymour, obviously, like, what better actor ever could play Seymour other than Rick Moranis? Like,
if you were to put a strange and interesting plant like this here in the window, then maybe...
Maybe what? Maybe what? Do you have any idea how ridiculous you sound?
I hated the boss, Mr. Mushnick.
Yeah, he wasn't my favorite.
What a tool.
But he was concerned about Audrey and her boyfriend. So, like, that was cool. Mm-hmm. Like, he was like, he's not really a man, but... I don't remember how it went from that to, like, they were talking about Skid Row, and it's, like, hard leaving Skid Row or whatever.
Oh, yeah, so...
And then I just wrote down elder woman singing about going home to Skid Row, and then homeless lay anywhere. Mm-hmm. So they were all over the place.
They were all over the place.
Laying on the ground.
Yeah. So the movie does take place in Skid Row.
Right.
And they're talking about how Skid Row is just this... once you're in there, you can't get out unless you're very fucking lucky. So that's where the depressing song about Skid Row comes from, is that they just don't want to live there anymore, but they can't get out because they're perpetually poor and they'll never be able to move out of there. And it's like, it's more expensive to be poor than it is to be middle class or upper middle class or even rich. It's way more expensive to be poor. And that's the trap they're falling into with Skid Row.
Right, so they're all angry singing about it.
Yes.
How do you tend to better yourselves?
Better ourselves? You heard what he said? Better ourselves? Mister, when you from Skid Row, ain't no such thing.
I have a note here that says zombies. Oh, yeah, because they're climbing the fence. Downtown. Oh, downtown.
Oh, that's right. So, yeah.
Downtown.
So Seymour is singing, and then they're all singing downtown. So they do that, but then they end up back in the shop, sitting around.
Yeah.
All right.
So Audrey 2 now is introduced into the movie.
And they urged the boss to put it in the window.
Yes. But the timing of that was just pure comedy gold, because you put the plant, or Seymour puts the plant in the window, starts talking to his boss / parent, really, as an orphan, about putting something new and interesting and going a different direction in the company. And then he's like, no, we can't do that. And suddenly the door opens and...
Excuse me. I couldn't help noticing that strange and interesting plant.
Boss man. I'm just calling him boss man now, apparently.
Apparently.
He was shocked. Like, I can't believe that worked. But he went with it. So they started getting more customers.
Yes. And then, again, we have all these strange people coming in to look at the weird thing, and it just really emphasized how, everybody is coming into this plant store to look at a weird and interesting plant, but not a single person in the entire movie was normal. So everything was weird and interesting to watch in this movie, not the plant. In fact, the plant was probably borderline the most boring part some of the times.
You think this is all coincidence, baby?
The people, every single character, no normal people in this movie at all. And then and still Seymour seems maybe like the most normal out of all of them, but even Seymour is just, funny.
What?
Very nerdy. Mm-hmm. You're right. Everyone's a little out there. Because after this, so he feeds him blood. Like, that wasn't weird, but it was fucking weird. And then all of a sudden people are, everyone's talking about it, and then they're on a radio talk show with John Candy. Wait,
yeah, John Candy.
Yeah, John Candy.
It was so good to see his face, too, because we hadn't seen him in so long. Obviously, rest in peace. Just the sheer amount of concentration and talent that you must possess in order to be that crazy at the drop of a hat like that. He probably improv'd the entire thing. I don't know. I have to look it up. But he probably improv'd a fair chunk of that, at least.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot of cameos in this.
Yes, a lot of them. I mean, we had John Candy and John Belushi. Mm-hmm. Jim Belushi. Shit. John Belushi was not in this one. His brother was. So on and so forth. There was a point, Sophie made a pretty funny one-liner, so I'm giving credit. I wrote it down, but I'm giving...
After this whole radio talk show, that's when Audrey goes into her delusions of her happy home. Was that not it?
No, there was something else you said.
Oh, what did I say? Lay it on me. What did I say?
You said that Audrey, too, is behaving like a toddler.
Oh, yeah.
As a parent to two toddlers. Yes.
It's like...
Feed me all night long.
It was very annoying.
Yeah.
I just left mine to hear this toddler. It's like he inherited a toddler.
Yeah, he inherited a toddler, and you said that and it made me laugh so hard. Because it's exactly what it is.
I feel so very weird.
So after the John Candy radio show fiasco, which was hilarious to watch, moving on, we're going back to Audrey, and we're learning more about Audrey and her relationship status.
Yeah,
and her sling.
How does it jump to her?
The transition was the radio show had aired, and Mr. Mushnick was listening to the radio show with John Candy's character, Wink Wilkinson, I think.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And so Audrey comes running in with her brand new lace sling because she's trying to listen to Seymour on the radio. But then after they turn off the radio, that's when the talk of her POS boyfriend starts up. Which, Mr. Mushnick, you make a good point to make sure to tell her that she's worth more than this sleazeball.
So he's a typical boomer these days. Where he thinks he's helping a majority of the time.
Right.
But... good intentions, but... Yeah.
Oh, well, in this case, I think it was warranted. So, during this part, this is when, Mr. Mushnick just takes off or whatever, and Audrey decides to... she goes home, I think, and she starts dreaming about her dream life, her dream... What she wants. She wants to be like the 50s housewife. She wants to be married to Seymour or what, she wants to have, or she didn't even say she wants to be married to Seymour, even though it's clear that they both have a crush on each other. But it's definitely she's envisioning her life as the quintessential 1950s housewife.
Yes. They were totally making fun of the 50s housewife.
Absolutely. There was the Tupperware party where she looked like she was having the time of her life. And I'm like, oh, God, have you ever been to, like, one of those kinds of parties? Like a party... What's the chef one?
Pampers?
Pampered chef, yes.
Pampers like a diaper. No,
yeah.
Pampered.
Yeah, pampered chef. But, like, the Tupperware parties were, like, a big thing back then, of course. Like, all these little things. It was amusing. It was amusing.
Yeah, she was just having a daydream. And then I wrote fuck Skid Row, so that's important.
Fuck Skid Row? Why did you write that down? I need to know.
I don't know. But then the three ladies come out in red.
Yeah, and then they started doing, like, Mexican music.
Oh, yeah.
With the flapper dresses.
It was all not the same.
Right.
It was like a million things in one, you're right. And they were singing about how business was booming.
Yeah, because obviously
because the plant, so everyone's seeing it, blah, blah, blah.
Well, that's an unusual story and a fascinating plant.
Well, okay, I'm going to interrupt. Sorry for interrupting. I forgot, but they announced this a while ago. They are remaking Little Shop of Horrors, and Scarlett Johansson and Chris Evans have already signed on to the project. And guess who Chris Evans is going to play?
Well, then the bad boyfriend.
The dentist. Yes. I am excited about that one. He plays a pretty good bad guy. I mean, you've seen Scott Pilgrim versus the World, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He plays a pretty good bad guy. And so I'm excited about that. Anyway, nice. I'm sorry I interrupted you.
It's all right.
We interrupt each other a lot.
Trying to think where's a good time, like, where's a good place to come back in? So the business is booming, the plant is big, then all of a sudden Seymour and Audrey are talking about low self-esteem.
Right.
What did you have to think about that?
I did. Okay.
Because I saw what they did there.
Yeah, that was pretty amusing. So at first, Audrey was singing and like kind of engaging even with the three singers. Mm-hmm. And they were characters at this point, and like she could interact with them, and they told her that she has a problem with low self-image, and she just glosses right over it. She's like, no, of course not. I don't have she doesn't have low self-image or whatever. And then later during this part, right after the Mexican music flapper dress girls, business is freaking booming, and suddenly Seymour so Seymour realizes that he didn't do a funeral arrangement for a repeat customer of theirs. And so he runs into the back and says, hey, Audrey, I need a special emergency arrangement. She said, okay, give me those lilies. So he grabs the lilies, puts them in the vase. She literally just puts glue and glitter on the flowers. And then when he takes off, she says that he suffers from low self-image. So she was kind of projecting her low self-image issues on, like, as if Seymour was the one with the low self-image issues. But in reality, they both have low self-image issues.
In reality, it's all a hot mess.
It is a hot mess. So at this point in the movie, I wrote a giant-ass note on my notebook, and it says, I concede. So up until this point, I was like, oh my God, Little Shop. Because I've seen it like once or twice before, and my husband's like, oh, you gotta love it. How you love music and musicals, and you don't like Little Shop of Horrors. And I could never really put an explanation on why I had an issue with Little Shop of Horrors until now. And so I wrote a big old note that says, okay, I concede. This movie is a lot more clever than I gave it credit for beforehand, because I'm now watching a little more intently. And I don't even know why I expected anything less from Frank Oz with this movie. This movie, musical number, amazingness, is fantastic.
So it's basically like Zoolander, where you watch it over and over and over. It gets better and better.
It gets better and better.
So you got a Zoolander.
That might be what it is, actually.
So I got to watch it 2 or 3 more times.
Did you? Because you didn't like it.
Well, it was like
it's a weird it's a weird watch the first couple of times, and then it grows on you.
I think the edibles helped. I mean, to be fair,
Oh, and then next is our favorite introduction for a character. Orin Scrivello, DDS. And the DDS is very important, as we learned later on in the movie. What was your first impression of this dude?
Well, it's Steve Martin, so I laughed pretty hard.
There's that.
The things he was saying.
Oh, the song. Oh, my God.
I mean, he was just, I didn't write too much about it because I thought he was funny. Just bad boyfriend. He's a dentist. It was a fun little number. And then Steve Martin magically flew into the plant store with his motorcycle. So after his number, he was, like, there, and he, like, flew in. And I was like, what happened?
Yeah. I feel like every time Steve Martin came on board, or say, like, it just got more and more until it, like, I didn't think it could get any more extra. And then suddenly it does get even bigger extra, like when he's singing about being a dentist.
You'll be a dentist. You have a talent for causing things. Son, be a dentist.
And he's talking about, like, how he's a sadist, essentially.
Right.
Yeah. And he wants to inflict pain on everybody and loves it.
So when he gets to the plant store, Seymour's, like, not impressed, but then he starts talking to Audrey, you know, like, hurry up, woman, and she's
so
supposed to
gross.
say, like, yes, doctor. It really was bad.
Yeah, and he's like...
I mean, if it's not consensual in the sheets, you know, in your own time, this is bad.
This is so bad. He was such a dick. It was just so gross. And, like, when he was... I think when Audrey was introducing him to Seymour... He's like, don't forget the DDS.
So basically, that happens, and then Seymour is with the plant again, who's like, feed me. And apparently the plant is up to date with current events. He was thinking about a lot of things that were current for being an alien, not from this planet. He knew a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So he was basically, feed me, and, I mean, who else but the boyfriend to feed, right?
Right. So they come up with this plan of Audrey, too, the plant, basically needs a human body to eat at this point. And so the plan is for Seymour to find one. He's like, I would never do that to somebody. I would never murder, you know, obviously. Audrey, too, convinces him, are you sure you don't know anybody more terrible enough that deserves to be eaten by me? And then he's like, okay. And so he just shows up at this dentist office with a gun in his pocket. I freaking love it.
Out of context, that line's probably not great. Like, he shows up with a gun. I love it. So, I just thought you should know.
I'm so sorry.
It made me laugh.
He shows up with a gun, and who else is there?
Another cameo.
This time by Bill Murray.
Let's go. Higher history of dental problems.
Shut up!
Yes, doctor.
It was weird.
They were, okay.
Who can be weirder than the other? I felt like it was a competition between both of them.
Eventually, the dentist was like, Jesus, you're a sicko! And which is hilarious, number one.
You outsicked me. Basically. So that was a thing while Seymour waited patiently.
Got weirder and weirder.
Okay, first off, no doctor, dentist, whatever, would put your hands on a patient that way.
No.
So all that was like, whoa. So he grabs Seymour, gets him in the chair.
Yeah.
And then he straps a mask to his own face.
Oh my god, that was fucked up.
Basically led to his inevitable death.
Yeah. He suffocated.
Seymour didn't have to shoot him.
Yeah.
So he didn't even kill him.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm reading my notes.
No, you're fine. I just think it's funny that this plant was like, yay, now chop it up into bits.
Yeah, and so now Seymour, the smallest guy on the planet, is pulling Steve Martin, a 6'5" behemoth of a man, as if he weighed like nothing more than a couple of paperweights, and then cuts him up.
Which his boss happens to see, which, again, his boss isn't a bad dude. He's like a boomer these days.
Yeah.
He knows, like, that's still bad, even if the boyfriend deserved it. And he didn't even kill him.
Audrey finds out. She found out that her dentist boyfriend was missing.
That's it. So he was missing, not that he died.
Yeah. And then I think Seymour at that point was like, well,
just forget about it.
What, forget about him? Like, would it be so bad if he was gone? Like, what, that type of thing. And she's like, well, no, actually it'd be relief.
So now, suddenly Seymour happens. There's a lot of singing. And then Audrey goes home. That's it.
And
Bye.
Then, and then that's when Mr. Mushnick comes in, right?
Yes, boss confronts Seymour. I don't know why in that situation you wouldn't call the police first.
Well, he explained in his dialogue to Seymour, like, he said, but you're like a son to me, so I'm going to give you the opportunity to get out of town. And
You're right.
Yeah, and so Seymour was gonna take that and get out of town, or theoretically, but then Audrey too was like, nope. So he got 2 meals that night.
And right after that, isn't that where he like flops over? Because he keeps flopping over he's dying because he's not getting enough, but he does it again.
He's a spoiled little brat, is what he is.
But then, of course, he opens up bigger.
Oh yeah, he gets bigger and bigger.
We're almost at the end, huh? What else happens here?
I have a genuine question for you, though.
Okay, shoot.
Who is repotting this ginormous plant into even bigger terracotta pots?
I thought it was like a chia pet. You just put water
no,
on
I meant
it.
like
even
the original pot?
Or the pot. Well, if it's alien.
Oh, if the whole thing is alien, then... Oh, man, he just broke my brain.
I know. Well, he probably broke his spaceship.
Well, he did break the pot later. I think we should all write a message to Frank Oz and ask why. But one thing that was really cool that I saw was, oh my god, the payphone. Not only the payphone, but Audrey, too, uses the payphone to call Audrey, because he's still freaking hungry.
Well, it sounds like a lot of stoners. They eat mostly at night.
But when he used the payphone, after he hung up on the payphone, he even checked to see if there was change. I remember doing that, but not a lot of people would ever even think to do that if there was a payphone on the street today.
Hello.
So we got rid of the boyfriend.
Again, the plant calls Audrey.
The plant calls Audrey. We got rid of the dentist boyfriend. Mm-hmm. Only for the plant to now start assaulting Audrey. This is why I think everybody and myself had a problem. Not everybody, but a lot of you and I are having a problem with the movie for the first few times we watch it. Because you see stuff like that and like, ooh, that's freaking weird. But then after a while, you kind of just get used to it and you think it's funny and you understand why it's there. But at first, it's like shock value. Like there's a shock to that. And it's hard to process through that to really enjoy the movie for what it is at first.
I did not think of that as that intense.
That moment for me was intense. I can only imagine what it would have been like in the 80s to see that in theaters.
I mean, because nothing's really shocking these days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's not get into that.
Let's not get into that. Moving on.
So yes, the plant has Audrey. I'm gonna eat you in, it's Biggie Big voice.
And then rescue time. Seymour comes into the rescue. Meanwhile, Audrey, of course, is full on yodeling Suddenly Seymour at some point. And then here's where the pot explosion was happening. What was your thinking on this amazing Audrey 2 with all the baby flower plants
little
and
babies?
stuff?
I was like, ew, because you know what that means. You gotta feed them.
Mm-hmm. Gotta feed them. Spoken like a mother with 2 toddlers.
Basically.
Feed me Seymour.
I was so uncomfortable when the babies were singing and like their tongues were wagging in the air and stuff. I was like, what is happening?
After all this talking about all the uncomfortableness, you better not give this a good rating.
This is like my second or third time watching the movie.
Or you're bringing it up, and I'm like, you're right, that was gross. So I'm not having the best ratings right now.
Well, okay, to be fair, the dialogue and the music lyrics are A+. Like, even at this point, we're fully in the Act 3 of the movie, of the story, and we're starting to hear Audrey 2 mature into a way, like, he's even saying swear words now. He is larger than life, and it's very realistic how the 1960s movie and the stage play musical ended with Audrey 2 eating everybody and taking over the world. That's very realistic in this environment that they've built.
So what happened?
So then everybody hated that ending and they decided, oh, electricity will just make them explode. And so that's what they did. So Rick Moranis grabs Audrey 2 just decides to pull down the entire building on top of his head, because why not?
Because he's throwing a temper tantrum.
He was throwing his epic temper tantrum, bouncing up and down.
Fucking toddler.
Yeah. And then, just pulled down the entire ceiling and the whole building, it felt like. And magically, there's this ginormous, unrealistic power line right in the middle of the whole building. And
that Seymour can just grab.
Barehanded and plug it right on into Audrey, too.
I don't remember
a literal
how
explosion. But they, special effects. So.
Yes. And then they sing Suddenly Seymour back and forth to each other some more.
Yeah. And at this point, I also have another note that says, I completely rescind my rescindment.
She had lots of conflicting emotions with this movie.
By this point, it definitely, if this was my third time watching it, which I think it might be, I'm still kind of like, okay, yeah, I'm getting the cult classic, I like this vibes from it. But at the same time, I'm going to have to get used to a little bit more of it.
Yeah.
Because it's still a little bit much.
Right, like it could be on in the background and I wouldn't mind.
Mm-hmm. Timpani. Sorry, random. But like the Suddenly Seymour singing back and forth in a big whole heroic moment, the reason why it felt like such a heroic moment was because there was a timpani playing. Drums, kettle drum, the kettle drums, the boom, 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 those things, those are timpani, and having those, it's like a very characteristic sound to have with any hero music. Anyway, at the end, Suddenly Seymour, timpani, heroic, exploding plants, but then they go into their magical world at the end, and then we have the plant at the end, which we already talked about, in the garden. So
there was hope for a sequel. That's what I get.
Yeah, right? There's hope that Audrey 2 will take over the world again. But I also was thinking about that last night as I was trying to fall asleep. I feel like Seymour would have an epic garden, and he would have found that fucker and exterminated it quick. Don't you think?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
After the... No repeats.
No repeats.
I'd stomp that mother.
Yeah.
I'd stomp that green mother from outer space.
If anything, Audrey 2 or whatever this plant species is, this alien species.
Get some raid.
Get it out of there. But Seymour is their number one enemy at this point. So why are you planting yourself in his garden? That's a stupid move. Might as well bury yourself.
It does have holes. It does not make entirely...
But that's just the ending, though. I mean, it's just one of those, like, ha-ha, wink type of endings.
Yes.
Anyway. So...
What did you think?
How
would you rate this movie before I brutally go at it?
I would... Okay, this is me. I've seen the movie at least once. I think twice before. This might have been my third time watching it. I would probably, at this point, put it at a solid 7.
Kind of felt like you were going to say that.
I think on IMDb and stuff, it's like at 90+ percentages all across the board of all of the... Like, everybody loves this movie. And it takes some warming up, too, dude. What did you think? 2?
No, I was going to say a 5. It's just something...
It's so
I don't know how to explain. It's like, it's kind of outdated... Obviously not 80s movie. We're watching 80s movie. I'm not going to say they're all outdated because, fun fact, they are if you're talking about time and years. But this one was just a little more, I'd rather see something else that keeps my interest.
Okay, that's fair. That's absolutely fair.
Because I do like musicals, and it was quite funny, but again, I don't remember a lot of what they were singing about because it was not what I would pair a musical to. Anyways, but 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10.
That's my final rating.
Fair enough. Another question that we thought we would ask each other on this podcast is if the movie were remade today, which is funny because they're remaking Little Shop of Horrors with Scarlett Johansson and Chris Evans, apparently. What do you think they're going to have to change in order to make it palatable?
Well, they better correct the shit out of it. Because you can't do that 50s housewife shit anymore. Stupid.
They could present it in a way that, if that's really Audrey's dream.
if it's comical.
Yeah. They made it comical in the musical, sure. But in the movie that we just watched, they're going to have to be pretty delicate about that and the domestic violence stuff.
Yes.
It's going to be really... comedy's always been used as a tool to kind of unpack very uncomfortable subjects. But... Right. this one's going to be interesting.
But it's one of those things, like, why bring up that subject in an alien plant-based movie?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think of, like, today's. Like, they wouldn't even think about the play or whatever. I'm thinking younger audience. They're not thinking about the 60s movies, plays, 80s movies, plays.
Yeah. They would have to think about character motivations. So in this case, they used Audrey as, you know, like the wife or the woman in the fridge, which is a typical TV or movie trope where a main character's wife dies or wife is something and killed or somehow or whatever, and then the main character, that's their motivation or their drive to continue forward onto whatever journey they're going to be on. That's a really outdated old trope that people really struggle with. In this case, for Audrey, I think in order for Audrey to the plant to get through to Seymour and for everything to escalate was giving Audrey a really shitty boyfriend. So Seymour would, who's a very good person, would feel, quote unquote, okay with killing someone in order to give it to Audrey 2, in order to make Audrey 2 big enough and powerful enough to take over the world. Because if you think about it, you have a really bad plant and a really good human being. How do you get a really good human being to do something really shitty?
Well,
yeah.
You're right. However, they can't be like how it was presented with Steve Martin.
They can do it completely different. But as long as the character...
have to be.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't know.
I agree with that, actually.
So, but you're right. Like, they can't get rid of the character, but like the way he presented it.
Yeah, they could. He could still be a dick to Audrey and a dick to literally everybody or something.
Right. I feel like the whole scene with Bill Murray out.
All of that out.
That's not good.
All of it's out. It was great comedy.
For its time.
Yes. For its time.
Yes. Anyways.
I think they...
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to say visual effects.
Yes.
Visual effects is what will make the new movie.
Mm-hmm. I really think, you know, for Frank Oz and Muppets puppeteering at the time and everything, it's, you know, it's great. It's like watching Yoda in the Star Wars movies. That was also Frank Oz, by the way. Yoda.
So let us know if you do not know who Frank Oz is.
Because
we will make it very clear.
We will educate you. But yeah, I think you're right. Those are some things that they really need to be sensitive about and change. And I think they'll probably do a pretty good job. But again, like, I'm a little nervous about it because look what happened when they remade Cats.
I haven't watched it yet, but I kind of now want to watch that.
Oh God,
it's terrible, but it's an A plus cast.
A plus cast.
Yeah,
I was looking forward to
cast.
it. I was so much looking forward to it because I love Judi Dench and Sir Ian McKellen
Jennifer
Hudson. Like, I love, there's amazing, and I think Taylor Swift's in it too, and like all amazing singers, amazing actors, all of them.
Jason Derulo.
Yes, and then like. Suddenly it was just garbage. And then I felt the same way when they did the Phantom of the Opera way back in the 2000s.
Oh, I like that one.
I don't like it at all. I think it's terrible. Don't watch it.
Yes, do whatever you want. You watch what you want, girl. We watched this little shop of horrors, so...
Yeah. So don't watch... I'm just kidding.
So what we're saying is watch whatever you want. And if you would like to watch with us... We're going to pick another movie.
Yes!
So, yeah, are you ready to do that?
Oh, God, I'm nervous.
I'm nervous. Well, can I get a drum roll, please?
Oh, God. How do I do this?
I don't know. Perfect. That works. Okay. And the winner is...
Oh, God. Oh, shit, she's laughing.
I'm so sorry, guys. Or I'm really happy for this, guys. It is Pee-wee's Big Adventure. No! 1985 Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Shit!
Because that's what we're watching next.
So apparently this podcast just means that I'm just going to be tortured forever, I guess.
I mean, it might be better.
I might be like, oh, Jesus Christ. I don't... we watched this as a kid, right?
I don't think so.
I think we watched this as a kid.
Well, if I get strange, nostalgic memories, I'll let you know. But I wasn't really a big fan of Pee-wee, so...
Me neither. Yeah, so guys, enjoy as we try to torture ourselves for the next however long we do this. I promise we actually have some really good, epic, amazing movies in this pile.
It's just if we pick them.
It's just random.
Good luck to us.
Right? But yeah, if you guys, we wanted to re-invite you to go ahead and email us at connect@silverscreensisters.com. And we want you to feel free to tell us your stories about some of your favorite 80s movies. Tell us things that you hate about 80s movies. Tell us something that you love.
Give us some Pee-wee trivia.
Give us Pee-wee trivia.
Sure.
And we'll have like special episodes and all that kind of stuff. And watch this movie with us if you dare. And then we'll tune in next week to discuss.
And on that note, I guess we are signing off.
We are signing off. Have a great one. Take care.
Till next time. Love you all.
Bye.
Bye. Let's go.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others and leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from us, check out our website at silverscreensisters.com. Silver Screen Sisters 80s edition is hosted by Billie and Sophie. Editing is done by Sophie, and cover art was done by Billie, with special illustration work done by Bacencia. Intro and outro music composed by Future Mono, and hold music composed by the Mini Vandals. This is a Silver Screen Sisters production and is powered by Coffee and Yoga Pants.
I don't know if we would remake this today, but it would be
Well,
cool
it would be a
special
little bit-
effects. Because they could do so much more with the plant now. Make it a weed plant.
Right. Make it a weed plant. That would be awesome.
I mean, they get huge.
You could.